Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So, we have more firmware. This time it is version 1.0.7 for the NB4 Pro. And I'm going to bring you in, show you how to update it. And on this one, it's a bit more complicated than the standard NB4. And I'll run you through and explain the differences in what you do with the updater. And we'll see if they've added the new firmware to Flysky Assistant. But I will show you on the updater itself how to sort of not get the issues that people keep messaging me by saying I've downloaded updater and it doesn't see me controller. But let's bring you in for a close-up look and see how we get on with this one. Right, so the first thing you're going to have to determine on this one is which version of the NB4 Pro you've got. So for that we go into a system menu, all the way down to the bottom, and you go to the About, and it will tell you at the top. So you'll have Noble Pro EU, or if I bring this other one in,
welcome to Noble Pro.
So if I bring this one in and we go to the same, scroll down, you can see this is Noble Pro EN. So EU or EN, you need to determine which version you have before you start the update process, and it'll save you having issues later. So this one we're currently on 105, and for this one I'm going to be updating it using the SourceSky USB-C base. You can use the normal base battery, it doesn't make any difference. But first thing we're going to want to do is get Flysky Assistant open and then connect as transmitter. You will see it screen flash quickly on transmitter and it'll tell you that it's connecting. So then you want to go to flysky-cn.com. If you've not already got Assistant downloaded, you just click on Noble Pro, scroll down, go to downloads and upgrades. So on here we've got the user manual, we've got the FCC version for the EU, we've got FCC version for EN, we've got the standard version for EU and the standard version for EN. Then if we look, we've got the update notes. So if we quickly have a look on here what's been added. So added support for iBus 2 servos and related functions. Added support for Hobbywing iBus 2 or 3 ESC and related functions. Added support for Kyosho Evo 2 models and related functions. And fixed issue with gyro cannot be calibrated after updating firmware from the transmitter for the INR4 GYB. And then a few other generic updates. So we know which version of transmitter we've got. This one is an EU. So first thing we're going to want to do is go into his device. Now we can see what firmware we're on, we can see hardware version. So if we go to upgrade, it'll remind us we need to back up. So if we click back up, then load TX models. So we can see all those models. I'm going to back them all up. So I tick all, export. Then I like to have on my desktop. So we've got an NB4 folder. We've already got a backup in here, but I like to give them a date so I know which one it is. So on this one, what we got, 23rd of May. So once you give it a name, you can just hit enter or press OK. It'll back as model memories up. And if anybody's curious, the system I'm using is a Lenovo Legion Go. It's basically a full Windows 11 PC. I just find it really handy because you can take this to track and tether it to your phone, so as long as you've got internet connection you can use Assistant. It's really handy for updating people's radios at track. It's really handy for copying model memories if you want to share them to other people. Obviously, depending on how they've got the servo set up, they'd have to set their endpoints, but really good. Even if you're out in the middle of nowhere with your rock crawler and somebody wants to copy your settings, I mean, bearing in mind on the Pro you've got 18 channels. If they've got a TRX4 with the similar setup to yours, you can just copy menu over and then all they have to do is set their endpoints rather than assigning all the buttons, features and functions. It does come in really useful. The good thing about backing model memories up is you can change them in and out one at a time, you can reorder them, you can do whatever you like. Technically it's possible to copy model memories between all the Flysky NB4 range, so NB4, NB4 Plus and Noble Pro. Just remember the Noble Pro will have a different way of assigning channels because it's got 18 not 8 like the NB4 and the NB4 Plus. But you should be absolutely fine going NB4 to NB4 Plus. Just because it's got 8 channels same. So it does take a little while to do this, but you don't want to do one of these firmware updates without backing your model memories up. If you've not made any changes recently and you've got a backup even from months ago, if you haven't added any new models or made any changes, you can just skip the backup. Use the one that you've had for quite a while. So we just press OK on that. Then we go to update. We go to firmware update and then we can click update. So if we have a look, we have got the 1.0.7 new and 1.0.7 FCC new. So basically on this, all we have to do is click update and then continue. Now, if all goes to plan on this, this should now download the firmware. It should automatically put the transmitter into update mode and it should then install the firmware. I say should do because I've had mixed results with this, which is why I explain about making sure which radio you've got, as in the EN or the EU. I will update the radio this way, but then I'll show you, just in case you're having issues with Assistant V3, I will show you how you download the actual updater for your radio and use that instead. This does seem to be taking a while to download the update. Not sure how quick it's going to actually run the updater. But the speed of this process is in no way held back by the Legion Go. We've got an 8-core processor in there, 16 gig of RAM, and all the USB-C ports are USB 3 and above. So they're all capable of high-speed data. You do see the radio tell you not to operate while it's in update mode. I do try not to skip these parts, because as you see it's been stuck on 0 for a good amount of time, and if you're trying to follow along on this video and you're trying to update your transmitter, if I go and skip it out so it looks like it jumps a bit, there's a danger that some viewers will look at their controller and think, oh, it's not updating, and unplug it, and then you've got a paperweight and you'll be messaging me asking me how you restore your radio, which is doable. I can pretty much bring any of these Flysky radios back from dead, depending on how much you've corrupted them. But I think we're on pretty much 100% success rate with bringing them back when people unplug them and brick the actual transmitter. It's not an incredibly interesting thing to watch, but I'd rather allow you to skip through video if you're not interested in this bit. I must admit, I really do like these little USB-C bases. I believe Sky is sending me a newer designed one as well, because a few people have said they like the base, but especially if you got the camera connection or the phone holder on the front of the radio, it can be a bit difficult to get it to stand up. But it is a really useful option for people. I know a number of people like the controller to be lighter, so it does mean you don't have to have the base battery. Now, I have been testing out a few different ways of using this assistant to restore the model memories after you've done an update. And if any of you watched the video I've just done updating the NB4, assistant seemed to crash an awful lot. And doing a few bits of testing, what I've found is once you update the radio, let it update its RF firmware, you get a prompt come up on screen. Once you've updated the prompt, once the prompt's finished and it says the radio's fully updated, you seem to have a lot more luck with Assistant if you power the transmitter completely off first and then power it back on. Now, I've also seen randomly with quite a few viewers at channel that's messaged me, and I've not had it with any of my transmitters. Bearing in mind, I've got 4 of them now, the NB4 range. I've got 2 Pros, an NB4 and NB4 Plus, and each time when I've updated them, they haven't needed recalibrating for the throttle and anything. But I have seen some people that have messaged me and said they've only got 10% throttle or 20% throttle or no brake. So just as a cautionary thing, once you've updated your transmitter and restored your model memories, I would run the calibration in the system menu. And once this updates, I will take you through and show you how to do that. I do think updating through Assistant is an awful lot slower than actually using the updater itself. But it seems though Flysky had put this software on, I thought I'd give it a try. But this is, although it seems to be going through okay, this is painfully slow. And as I say, it's in no way a reflection of the USB-C base on the transmitter, or the actual PC it's running on, or the cable it's running on. They're all high-speed connections. I mean, if we bring up Task Manager, we can see it's doing very little. So it's not CPU, GPU intensive or anything like that. And you can see all the cores. It's not a restriction or a limitation of this PC. It's just Assistant is really slow. But if any of you have used it, as you're clicking in and out of menus and things like that, you'll quickly realise it doesn't matter what it runs on. My editing PC that I used to use for doing the update vids, that one is a 16-core 32-thread processor. So it's a 5950X CPU that'll boost up to about 5 gig. And it's an RTX 3090 graphics card. The whole thing's water cooled, 64 gig of memory, and Assistant is still unbearably slow. Internet wise, I've got 900 and something meg down, so it's really not any limitation of any of the equipment or internet connection I've got. Strangely enough, the V1 of Assistant was really fast. and I keep badgering Flysky to put it back to that one. I did get a trial version from them of V3 that seemed to be a lot quicker and a lot less laggy, but it's never been released for some reason. We keep getting new controllers and new firmware, which I'm more than happy to have, but yeah, Assistant is the for how premium the Flysky range of controllers feel now and the feature set on them, Assistant is really the only sort of bugbear that I've got. It's painfully slow. I think we can use this time though to answer a few common questions that I get. I do get a lot of people message me asking why the SVC option doesn't show up, and it's usually because they've not set the bind mode to enhanced. So you do have to have the INR4 GYB for the gyro functionality to be working, but you also have to have the radio set to enhanced. And while we're running through this, I'll just bring this one in that I've already updated. Let's get it focused on screen. So if we go into menu once it's updated and we go into RX, we've got as interface protocols that we can now set to iBus 2, and it will have the added functionality. I believe you have to have an iBus 2 device connected to it. So if I was to go into the iBus 2 setup, it'll say it hasn't got one connected. But I may be able to go on to sensors. So let's see. Nah, I don't think it's going to let me without any of the iBus 2 devices connected. Yeah, we're not going to get the options of it. But as I get more of the iBus 2 kit, it does have the option now for the new Flysky ESC, the R3 AX system. I'd love the options to be available for some of the other ESCs, so it'd be nice if we could get the XD and XR range. So we've still got as 18 channels. If we go to radio frequency setup on the new firmware, you do have the extra Evo 2 now available. And I think if we go into receiver update, so now when you update the INR4 GYB from the Pro, like with the NB4, you will get the latest version of the software on the INR4 GYB, and it'll stop the issue with not being able to calibrate. So if we come back to the updater, we're now on 64%. At least it gives me time for you guys to enjoy my incessant ramblings. So it shouldn't take too much longer. The updating through Assistant does alleviate the issue of you having to work out whether you've got an EU or an EN firmware version of the transmitter. But unfortunately, it's just really, really slow. But if it goes through and it works, it works. But after this, I will show you how to download the updater, which I believe would be so much quicker. And we are on 74% now. I did notice on the Flysky announcement for this, they actually had a picture of the NB4 Pro Plus, and it was mentioned on the actual sort of post that Flysky did. Don't know if any of you guys saw that, but it did say NB4 Pro Plus. Not sure if that were intentional or if that's Flysky's announcement that it is confirmed. I don't actually have one yet. I'm sure people don't believe me when I say that, but in the video here, I've got, not sure if these will be on screen, but I've got a Pro, an NB4 and an NB4 Plus, but we currently don't have a Pro Plus kicking about. Might be on way. Shouldn't be too long. I've only got 15% remaining, so it will soon we'll soon be able to see whether it actually worked or not. I don't mind the functionality of Assistant V3. I just wish it were that little bit quicker, because it is kind of painfully slow, and especially if you guys have got your batteries charged and you're ready to go out bashing and you think, I'm just going to update it. It'd be nice if it didn't take best part of 20 minutes just to get the actual update installed. The V1 of Assistant was also quicker at backing up and restoring the model memories as well. And coincidentally, it didn't crash. But we're on countdown now, we got 9% remaining. I'm actually quite surprised that since they've announced the Pro Plus and the NB4 Plus has already been released, quite impressed and surprised that they actually brought the new features update out for the standard NB4. I mean, it's really nice. I have mentioned it to Flysky quite a few times. If you want to stand out amongst the crowd of radio transmitters, then keep support for your older and your original customers. It does turn that customer into a returning customer if they get plenty of life out of their original transmitter and they get plenty of updates, plenty of new features, even after the new ones have been brought out. You can pretty much guarantee that that guy or girl, when they want to upgrade their transmitter, they're going to stick with Flysky if they've been looked after. And hopefully it looks like they're taking notice. So it does say it's updated. So if we go to refresh device, so it is showing on 1.0.7. Now, one thing I would do, press and hold your power button, shut it down. So the NB4 had a radio firmware transmitter update. Looks like the Pro doesn't.
Welcome to Noble.
But you can tell by my power light that it's reset all my models. And this is why we do the backup. So we can go back into it. And we can go to import. Load model file. We can go to the one with the date on that we created. So it shows you a list of all the RCs that you're going to import. You can bring them back in. Then we can select all, select add. And it's a good way of chopping and changing these around. So you can highlight one that you want to move and you can press up or down. And you can move where it is. Once you've got them exactly how you want, press OK. Now with a bit of luck, because we've power cycled the transmitter, I'm hoping Assistant is going to put them memories back on and not do what it did on the MB4 video and crash 3 times and take me 3 attempts to do it. If you have already got models stored on your transmitter, you can load up a different file. You can pull in one or all of the model memories in that file, and when you click add, it'll flick over to the right hand screen, and then you can press up or down and it will show you in the left hand column of the right hand screen the actual model that you're importing, but on the right hand column of the left hand screen it'll show you the actual model that it's going to replace. So if you're looking for a blank channel, just look for one that's named Flysky, or if you've replaced an RC that you don't want on there and you want to replace it with a new model that you're importing, make sure it says that on the right hand column. And when you press OK, it'll just replace that one. Luckily this doesn't seem to take anywhere near as long as the firmware update. And if this goes through okay, it looks like power cycling the transmitter is definitely the process that Assistant likes. So it looks like that's gone through fine and not crashed. So if we unplug this transmitter, I'll bring it back. Let's get it in focus.
Shutting down.
So just quickly power cycle it. So if we go to his memories, we've got all his memories restored and they're in the order I selected them to go into. If we come out of that, one last thing I would do is go into the system menu and then stick calibration, and then just calibrate your throttle and brake.
Calibration successful.
And that way you know that everything's on there and it's all correct. And just quickly, if we close Assistant, because we've already got his memories backed up and I've already took you through the process of getting the actual memories, but we have the EU version. So if you go onto the Flysky site, Noble Pro, scroll down, downloads and upgrades, and then if we look for the, I'm going to go standard version of 1.0.7 for EU. So we click download. You want your actual MB4 or Pro folder. So then we can click save. It'll download the firmware. You can go in and open it, and it does say EU and EN and the firmware version. So if we just double click on that, it'll detect the transmitter. It does say it's already on 1.0.7, but before you update it, you have to go onto system, go all the way down to firmware update, click firmware update. It'll say it may reset it to factory settings. Press OK. Now it's important you wait for it to detect which one it is on here, because it'll detect them both, which is one you'll click on and it'll say it failed because that's the transmitter in PC mode. The other one, it'll come on and it'll say successful. And if you're confused as to which one it is, you can just unplug the transmitter, close the updater, reopen it, and then plug it back in. Now, if I try to run the EN updater, when the radio is in firmware update mode, it won't see it. So this is why you need the EU for the EU radio, the EN for the EN radio. Then basically you just click update, and I'll just take you through this because you'll see just how quick this is compared to doing it through Assistant. We're already erasing flash chip. It's at 42%. It's now programming it. So we're already gone to 43%. It just seems so much faster to do the firmware update through this version rather than actually try and do it any other way. And we're at 46% now, and I don't think it goes all the way to 100. I think it gets to 95 usually and jumps and just finishes. But we're now at 94, 95%. Update succeeded. Transmitter goes off, comes back on. And we're on 107 standard. And because I updated it from 107 to 107, we've still got all the model memories, so we don't need to restore anything. I would just quickly go in and do the calibration. Just remember, if you are updating from a lower firmware than 107, so rather than just reapplying the same firmware, you would then have to open Assistant and restore your model memories. Just like I've shown doing the update mode with Assistant V3. But it will save you a lot of time doing the firmware update from the actual updater rather than Assistant V3. Just bear in mind, don't have Assistant V3 open after you've backed your memories up. When you download the updater, make sure you get either the EU or the EN one. And then before you start the updater, you have to go onto controller, system menu, and click firmware update to put your radio into update mode. But it's as straightforward as that. Once you've updated it, everything will work. You've got the new features, so let's wrap this one up. So there you have it, 107 firmware on the NB4 Pro. Both ways are updating it. My advice, use Assistant to back your model memories up, then download the updater. It's way quicker. And then just use Assistant again to put them back on. Main points, the updaters, you must download the right one for your transmitter. So EU updater, EN, the EN updater. As for the FCC and standard versions of software, FCC gives slightly longer range but lower battery life. And then the standard one will give slightly shorter range but longer battery life. I think that's the right way around. But thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.